Yeah, but you should also to involve all the members and to interest them.
Yeah, I completely agree. So yeah, does anyone have any questions for me before we continue? Because I want to make sure that I don't just talk the whole time. I do want to answer some of your questions as well.
Yeah, I have one.
Please.
Okay, actually, it's personal question. Have you ever tried to imitate some accent, or have you ever tried to imitate a Russian accent when you speak English?
Of course.
Can you show?
It's quite.
I like Irish accent.
Oh, interesting. My family's Irish.
Oh yeah.
So you like a bit of an Irish accent? It's quite.
No. Please imitate Russian accent. How Russian people speak in English? How you think?
Well, I don't think I can do that, but I can definitely give a good image. Ilya doesn't want it. But I can probably do a what's called a Hollywood accent. So it's basically the common idea of what Russian might sound like. But I think most of us can probably do that. If you think about it, how many accents are there in Russia?
One.
Any other ideas?
No, only one, I think.
Yeah.
No.
A lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I live in the Udmurt Republic, and our local residents have a special.
So a lot of people have individual accents.
They like to pronounce "or." Okay.
Yeah, okać. Yeah, the difference between okacing and akacing, if you can say it like that.
And to also prolong the, как сказать, гласные.
Yes, then the glasные are the vowels. Yeah.
And the speech seems to be more prolonged. I don't know. It's like singing.
I agree. Yeah, I actually do agree. There are a lot of different accents in Russia, but I think what Archie is referring to is the fact that there is one general way or idea of speaking for most of the country. This is different in comparison with the UK, where almost every city has its own accent, and the accents are incredibly different. So, for example, I don't personally speak with an accent, but people from my city speak with what's classified as a very Yorkshire accent. But other people who are coming from London, for example, will speak in a more similar way to the way that I'm speaking currently. So there are a lot of regional differences. In St. Petersburg, this is an interesting question from me for you guys. In St. Petersburg, is the accent different than the one in Moscow?
I didn't see the difference between Moscow and St. Petersburg accent.
So, personally, I know that there are words like "pariyebrik," which aren't really used in the rest of Russia or in Moscow, for example. These are older words, whereas they've been replaced by other words in Moscow. Why is this?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think that it's one for us all to consider, that there are different sets of vocabulary in different areas of the country. Lana, you want me to do a Russian accent?
Yeah. It's for fun, maybe. I don't know.
Right. All right. Okay. In what way would you like me to do basic Russian accent?
Fucking it! That's good, man.
You did it.
Thanks a lot.
My absolute pleasure. Seriously, accenting is actually a really, really good way to practice your flexibility with your languages. So, if the more accents you can do, the more flexible you will feel when speaking in English or any other language for that matter. So, what I would say, going upon this topic, is if you can try and do an English accent, you really try and do the British accent or the American accent, or whichever accent you want to do. Really try and copy it, even if you think you're sounding stupid. Really do go for it, because it will show, it will pay off. I actually, here's a little random piece of information. I don't speak Chinese like someone from Beijing. I speak Chinese like someone from Taiwan, simply because I prefer the accent. So a lot of people choose USA, and they choose the accent from New York or from Chicago or whichever city they want. And then some people choose a London accent, for example. So there's a lot of different, or an Australian accent. Interesting, I do have some family members in Australia who do have interesting accents. And no, Lana, unless you really do want to copy it, in what way to repeat after actors? Okay, so the best way to copy an accent is to copy stereotype. If you can find a stereotypical accent in a film or in music or on the radio, you try and copy it. You really do, and that is probably the best way to try and do it. You can copy Tom Cruise. You can copy whoever you want. It's about finding your personal idea of an accent. So, to use my example for Russian, I never really try to copy anyone specifically. Although in English, they're often said that people like Vladimir Putin have very clear accents, and it's very intelligent to try and copy, but not necessarily copy the voice, but copy the style of speech. Others include many politicians, such as so what else have you asked about this? I just think it's always very important that you understand how best to articulate your language. Does anyone here? So you like Abba?
Yeah. I've seen some interviews with him, and it's very, very good accent. I like his accent very much.
So, and George W. Bush. Senior?
I can hear you.
Do you mean George W. Bush Senior or Junior?
Sorry, noise. Jana, you make a little bit noise.
Sorry. Sorry.
Do you mean George Bush Senior or George Bush Junior?
George Bush Jr. I mean a way of speaking, like stupid thing, but he can say like imitate that. I don't know.
Oh right, no, I get what you mean. He has.
Can I say actually George Bush, George W. Bush, George Bush Jr. He has a little bit Southern accent, but he was born in Connecticut. It's not South. He's a Yankee actually.
Well, yes, he is technically a Yankee, although he was raised in Texas, so therefore he has a lot of what we call a Texan twang to the voice. Yes, the word is not like that. Twang. Basically, it's that R sound in the voice. It's often said that the Texan accent is quite a calming and soothing accent to listen to, very befitting of his Republican politics. I see you don't like politics, Varvara. Who do you like? Which accents do you like?
Okay, so you want me to compare American, Australian, or British?
Not necessarily. Just any accent, whilst speaking English, of course. But which accents do you like, or which accents do you like to listen to?
So I like the film in English. It's about Sherlock Holmes with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, and Moriarty is my favorite character in this film, and I really like the way he is speaking. He's Irish.
Well,
and
yes.
I listened to one audio play with him and with Ben Whishaw that is well known film about Baphomet and about the mode of Baphomet. So, because I really don't understand what he's talking about, because it's really difficult to understand him.
No, that I understand. A lot of people find difficulties with yeah. No, I get it. So you like Moriarty? Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I wasn't aware that he was Irish, though. I wasn't aware of that. Interesting. Okay, so
Liam,
yes, please.
can I ask you personally?
Please do.
Do you know? I know that even sometimes some native speakers, they have a problem when they're abroad, for example, and let's suppose that you're in the US, right?
Sure.
And you're like in Texas or in Alabama or anyway.
Yeah.
And would you understand everything what they say, or you would just?
That's a very good question. That's a really good question. When I was partly raised in New Zealand for part of my life, which, not in the ghetto, Barbara. I was partly raised in New Zealand, which gave me the ability to understand Australian and New Zealand-ish accents. But I really sometimes do struggle with understanding people saying Alabama or the deep south of America, simply because they do have that really thick pronunciation, which I think a lot of people seem to struggle with in many different. Don't worry, Jama. Have a good evening. Would you like, before you go? Well, sorry, Ilya. I'll answer your question in a second. For everyone, I'm going to put a task, something for you to do for your English on here before I leave this conversation. Okay?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.